Edmund Perry's story was a tragedy.
Yeah.
And then Mike did his own rendition of the Edmund Perry story.
Really hard to separate, for me at least, the video from the song or the short film from the song. So I think it would be really good to get into this video. Now, it was inspired by a real life story of a student who was trying to leave street life. Uh, According to many sources, it was based on the story of Edmund Perry. And I do have a little clip in here. I have some notes in here about Edmund Perry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that story.
Yes, I'm very much familiar.
Yes. So yeah, Edmund Perry was a student in New York New York City that went out of the city to go to school. He came back, I think it was on Thanksgiving or winter break, and got into some issues. And I believe he was slain by police. But it was sort of like,
Yeah, he was shot by a police officer.
yeah, yeah. Really, I think a story that rocked New York City when it came out. And I also have a clip of Michael telling us about that here. So let's check that out and let's talk about it after this.
How? Now I know that you didn't write the video, but you're telling me the story is almost like the story of my life, but you're telling me that it's based on another person.
Yes, it is. This kid who went to school upstate in the country, whatever, who is from the ghetto, and he tried to make something of his life. And he would leave his old friends behind. And when he came back on spring break or whatever, Thanksgiving break, his friends became so envious, jealous of him that they killed him. But in the film, I don't die, of course. Yeah. So it's a true story that we had taken from Time or Newsweek magazine.
Yeah.
And he is a black kid like me, and it's a sad story. But pardon?
How does that make you feel when you see those sad stories?
Oh, something like that is very sad because it's all negative. It's wrong. I think that's life, to want to grow and become more. And like you plant a seed and it grows into something beautiful, and it never dies, really. I think people should be that way.
So I have a few statements about, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
About so, like we talked about it in our notes. Michael, he had never been vulnerable except for the one moment in She's Out of My Life. I don't think that Michael was ever a vulnerable artist at all. You never saw anything other than like the pop guy. And, Thriller was, clearly amazing. Bad. I'm sorry, not bad. I'm sorry. Beat It. Beat It was like, him going, and he really transitioned in Beat It. Like he was like rock guy. Like, but then with the Bad music video, when he starts to like push back on Wesley Snipes' character.
Yes. I think we have some pictures while you're talking about it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. I want to bring up the visuals because some people might not even know Wesley Snipes. But we have some photos of okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I think that like the Michael Wesley dynamic, that's when I think that you can start to feel like a little bit of Michael's personality. And I mean the scene when he says like, "Stop it, get off me, man, stop it."
Yes.
You don't
now. Do you
know?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Because I want to know if you feel like that's believable. Because I felt like that was really believable. Like when I watched that, I was like, oh, it scared me because you never see Michael upset.
No, I definitely think it's believable. I don't think if you told me that was what he was going to do, I wouldn't believe it. When I see it, I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you told me Mike's going to get mad at, said other character, I'd have been like, yeah, I've never seen it before. But when I see it, like when I see it in the bad video, yeah, I mean, he's good, he's really good in that.
I remember really relating, and I want to get into some of the themes in your book because I remember. So I here's a background on me. I grew up in one of the boroughs in New York City, and I was one of the kids that went to like a school outside of her zone school, went a couple neighborhoods away into a school where I was one of three black kids at all in
Okay.
the even in the grade,
Mhm.
and it was a smaller high school, but that was the situation. And just, you know, coming back to my friends in my neighborhood or even being in that school environment, like I always felt like that out of placeness. And so when I was able to watch Darryl, who is the character that Michael Jackson plays in this, it really did kind of bring out some emotions in me, because that happens a lot of times, especially I think, especially growing up in suburbia, like you mentioned in your experience. Sometimes when you go outside of the Black community or your neighborhood, there's like this separation, not in your mind, but that everybody else has in that perception of you and how you're
Yeah.
treated. And so I thought to bring that and tie that into the story based on Edmund Perry and then tie that into a real life experience that even probably Michael Jackson was experiencing. Because I talked about this recently too, but like being too pop or too commercially successful, sometimes the Black community separates themselves and they're like, oh, okay, you're doing your thing now. And there's that separation. So talk to me a little bit
You're
about your experiences with that, uh, and how you express that in your book, and how that ties back to the bad short film.
Well, for me, that sort of disconnect or separation, if you will, was one of the predecessors of why I wrote why I wanted to write what I wrote. So I wanted to talk about the notion of this separation of blackness, if you will, and then whiteness, if you will, on the same, and how you can be in the middle of it all. And that's where Mike came into play for me. I mean, I was a kid. I used to be on the playground listening to Bad every freaking day. If I wasn't playing sports with my friends, I was on the outskirts of like the area and I was listening to Bad. And every little bit, like every nuance of like, the sonics of the record, it was all these like situations and this like conglomerate, I would say, of like, just overall worldview. Everything was like Michael like kind of like brought all that into his own music. And then that's kind of like where I was sitting when I was listening to these records. So when I was, 8, 9, 10 years old, listening to Liberian Girl, listening to Another Part of Me, listening to Bad. I mean, and then it continued, with Dangerous, but yeah, like it was crazy.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about, because a lot of people have uh, put that separation on Michael Jackson during certain moments of success. They'll say, "Oh, he was not with the Black community anymore," or whatever like that. And I find it so interesting because through this music video, this short film, he kind of shows something that a lot of us went through just in everyday life, and that he also went through within the music industry. It's like it really
Well,
brings it
I
home,
will
right?
yeah, like, so since we started talking, I'm gonna analyze the F out of this video. And I think it's bad. I think Bad is so interesting because you get the notion of this like um dichotomy, this pair, this coming together. Darryl in the film, Darryl is a what, like, urban kid, right? We would say maybe an urban kid.
Yeah.
And then he goes off to a prep school. I think that alone is kind of it tells you about like the notion of what it's like to be an African American in suburbia.
Absolutely.
So he's got to deal with it. He deals with it, but it doesn't really go well, I guess you could say. In the in the video, you can see there's like the opposite. There's the problems with Wesley Snipes' character, you know.
Yes. I don't. By the way, I don't even know if they named Wesley Snipes' character in this.
Neither do I. I have no
I think
idea.
he was just Wesley. He's just Wesley to all of
Yeah.
us. But no. Like
Well,
oh, sorry. I don't want to cut you off, but I completely agree with that. It's so interesting because imagine how many people have watched this and everybody's going to interpret art in their own way, right? But that underlying meaning and that kind of experience is going to go over a lot of people's heads just because they haven't lived it. And I feel like there are a lot of things like that, themes like that in Michael Jackson's art that only people that have been through it can understand. And that's
yeah, I
something
mean,
that I appreciate.
I would totally agree with you. Like the conglomerate of the mixing of so many genres, if you will, you know, like together. But like if you want to take it back to bad, I really like one thing I wanted to make sure that I said was Edmund Perry's story was a tragedy.
Yeah.
And then Mike did his own rendition of the Edmund Perry story. And then at the end, like at the end of the, or not the end, but like in the middle of the bad video, all I can think about is the conglomerate of color that is involved. You got the guy with the Japanese joint on, you know?
Yeah.
You got the guy from Shalimar.
This has been an excerpt from Club 30s with MJFANGIRL podcast, episode number 37. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. For more exclusive content, make sure you're joining the MJFANGIRL Patreon. On Patreon, for just $4.99 a month, you can get exclusive candid story times with me, as well as ad-free early drops of all of our content. I can't wait to see you over there, and thank you so much to Marla's, our platinum sponsor. You are the absolute best.